G'day, ZiggyD here. The Atlas of World expansion brings with it a new set of endgame bosses, the Guardians. Killing each of these Guardians rewards you with keys to fight against the Shaper himself, but these tier 16 Guardians are also worth farming in their own right, as each of them has a pair of exclusive uniques for you to obtain. Today we're going to be looking at one of the Guardian of the Hydra's drops, SLIVERTONGUE. 100 blind heads, each seeking the taste of prey on the air. SLIVERTONGUE Harbinger bow is set to be a chase drop for many physical damage crit bow builds with a solid offering of potentially over 300 physical DPS on a crit base and some powerful projectile modifications. Perfectly on theme with the Hydra boss's splitting shot, this is a bow that plays around with fork, chain, and pierce mechanics all on the one bow. The first effect is fairly simple, 100% increased critical strike chance with arrows that fork. This offers a decent incentive to work fork into your build, especially if you can combine it with the bow's other effects. The next effect is arrows that pierce cause bleeding. This is a strong effect because of the synergy between playing a bow build and the damage you can cause with a strong crit bleed. It's currently quite difficult to work bleed into bow builds as you're limited to 25% chance from Rupture in the Deadeye Ascendancy, 30% chance from Noxious Strikes in Assassin, or you're forced to use the Puncture skill. This mod allows you to get bleeds from any piercing arrow, including the guaranteed initial piercing projectile of Tornado Shot. And then the final mod is, arrows always pierce after chaining. While there is obviously some strong synergies with this bow, there is also a strong amount of flexibility in how you can use it. Let's try and break down some of the options and how the mechanics fit into them. Firstly, you can quite simply make a pierce build and get free bleeds. Throw in your drill neck and pierce gem, use Tornado Shot, and you're going to be getting some really nice bleeds. Not bad, but you can get a lot more interesting from here. Like, for example, chain into pierce bleed. The way this actually works is that after the projectile first chains, it will then pierce, which overrides any potential further chains. This means that you can only chain each projectile once before they will begin to pierce instead. While this means the chain support gem loses some of its effect, it also gains the effect of 100% pierce after the first chain and 100% bleed chance on those piercing projectiles. Not a bad trade-off. And then there is the other option, Ricochet from the Deadeye Ascendancy. This node gives your arrows a single chaining effect, which can then trigger piercing and then bleeding. This is going to be a way to get really strong area of effect damage on skills like Tornado Shot and Split Arrow. And then you can get even fancier, like for example running a Deadeye with the chain node and using the fork gem. From this you will get critting forking projectiles that will then proceed to chain, then pierce and bleed. What I really like about this setup is you can use this for insane AoE clear potential in really high density maps, and then gem swap fork for pierce to kill harder bosses with high damage bleeds. Throw in some poison as well and you have a really solid degen bow build. These are just some examples of things you can do, and I'm sure you guys will come up with your own. Maybe you'll ignore the bleed effect entirely and use the fork chain pierce combo to spread lightning arrows or ice shots AoE all over the screen. Either way, I'm a big fan of the design of this bow. It's got some solid power to it, but also a lot of potential for flexibility and customization in how you play with it. I actually talked to the designer of SLIVERTONGUE, Nick from Grinding Gear Games, and he said that it was intended originally for the mods to be on reach of the council, but it ended up fitting really well with the Hydra as this expansion's big bow. He also mentioned that one of the design goals was to make a really visual unique, something that's quite difficult within the limitations of action RPGs. The idea was to make a bow that you would really see the effects of different setups on how it modifies your projectiles. Having played around with it myself, I can say that it's really fun to see how much Tornado Shot bounces around with it, and how impactful it makes Split Arrow feel. I hope you guys enjoyed this unique showcase. In the comments below, I'd like to hear about whether you'll be farming the Hydra for SLIVERTONGUE, and if so, what sort of builds will you make with it? That's it for now, I'm ZiggyD, and thanks for watching.